had players in and out of the lineup, but they welcome back Tyler Herro to help start a 4-game homestand. The result, a 3-point shooting masterclass that led to a dominant 30-point blowout for Miami. We'll break down everything that went well coming up next.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Heat Nation. It's a Wednesday edition of Locked On Heat, your daily podcast covering all things Miami Heat, however you may be listening on YouTube, Odyssey, or on your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm David Ramil. With me, as always, is my co-host Wes Goldberg, coming live from FTX Arena. The Heat were taking on the reeling Indiana Pacers on Tuesday night. This is the last of 3 regular season meetings between the two teams, with a series tied at 1 apiece. And while Tyler Herro returned to the rotation after missing the last 3 games due to a thigh contusion, the Heat were still dealing with injuries, missing Jimmy Butler, Adebayo, Caleb Martin, Victor Oladipo, and PJ Tucker, who was hurt on Sunday versus the Detroit Pistons. A new lineup to start the game as a result, with Max Strus getting his first career start in place of Tucker alongside Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, and Dwayne Dedmon. Wes, you brought up a very good point that the lineup would seem to, me anyway, like it might be one that would struggle defensively. Wasn't necessarily about matching up with Indiana.
It was not, right? And I think that was the smart move. This was a move to basically just blow the Pacers off the floor, to shoot them off the court. That much was evident right away. 5 of the Heat's first 3 shots were all 3-point attempts. 8 of their first 10 or 9 of their first 10 were all 3-point attempts. They didn't even attempt their first 2-pointer until midway through the first quarter. There was a very concerted effort to space the floor right away and let the Pacers feel that, hey, we're going to be playing a spaced out game. Miami's going 5 out all night long. Credit to the Heat. They didn't just jack up shots, to Erik Spoelstra's, to use his term there. Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, even Gabe Vincent, they got to the basket. They pressured the paint, would kick out, and the Heat generated a lot of good looks against a Pacers team that has a big front court with Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis. But, I think Spo rightly said, there is no replacement for PJ Tucker on the floor. And he said this after the game, by the way. He's like, you could have put KZ Okpala out there and tried to go kind of quote-unquote big with KZ in place of Tucker, with Dedmon still starting at center. But Dedmon's been playing well. They trusted him to man the middle. They went to a zone early in order to try to fend off the Pacers from getting to the rim. And I think it worked. But
Absolutely, it worked.
Yeah. But this was a game where I thought, you're going to be able to, right away, I was like, you're going to be able to judge whether or not the Heat won by just looking at the 3-point part of the box score. And tonight they went 22 of 49. That's a franchise high, tied for a franchise high with 22 made threes. They shot 45% from 3-point range tonight, David. I mean, there's another way that this goes, right? Like, if you're playing the variance game, it is a dangerous game. This could have been like a Detroit Pistons loss where, hey, you just can't buy a shot. But the Heat were at home. They a much needed game at home, by the way. And a lot of guys stepped up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It worked. I think the zone defense created some really great rush shots for the Pacers. They just looked disjointed, even with their size advantage. It just didn't seem like they were able to get any good looks at the rim, whether it was Sabonis or Turner or anybody who was in at the for the Pacers. They were constantly switching, just pressuring everybody who had the ball. If they just touched the ball, it would immediately draw 2 defenders. There was always somebody closing out. Fantastic defensive effort by not just the starters, but everybody who came in and played for Miami. And as you mentioned, the season high, career high, franchise high, 49 3-point attempts for the Miami Heat. Incredible 45% shooting for 3-point range. All of that en route to a 125-96 blowout victory to help improve their record in 19-13. Listen, we'll talk about Tyler Herro's return later on the show, because he was just incredible. And Stan Van Gundy, Heat lifer Stan Van Gundy, made some interesting points about Herro that we'll debate later on after our player grades. So much went well for the Heat. Look, they won the rebounding battle easily. As we said, they shot extremely well from the floor. 30 assists on 47 made field goals in the night. So incredible sharing of the ball, just making the right pass. And despite a huge free throw disparity. I didn't even realize this as I was watching the game. The Heat shot just 11 free throw attempts while Indiana went to the line 28 times. So it's not like even the Pacers fans could complain about the officiating. They had the whistle all night because Miami played tough defense as they always do, and they were able to get some questionable calls their way. Miami wasn't relying on the free throw line in order to restore the pace or able to kind of balance things out or anything like that. They just played their game. They shot the lights out. They spaced the floor. It was a perfect execution of a really good game plan, which we'll talk about later on too.
Well, a big part of the game plan, a lot of people are going to look at the three-point shooting, and rightly so, for all the things that we're talking about here and a lot of the numbers that a lot of these players put up. But the other part of this was the zone defense, and more importantly, understanding that when you have a size disadvantage and you're shorthanded like this and you're playing all these role players, you got to win the hustle stats too.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a big part. I mean, to me, look, I don't have the stats in front of me. The hustle stats on NBA.com don't usually update until the next morning. But it seems like every 50-50 ball, the Heat were getting it. They were forcing bad passes. They were forcing turnovers. They were all over it. You mentioned the fact that they won the rebounding battle 38-31 or I'm sorry, 53-42. They just blew out the Pacers on the boards. Nostradamus ended up being right, by the way. Domantas Sabonis held under 20 points. He had 12 points and 4 rebounds, just completely just useless in this game, right in front of his father, of all people. Talk about Tyler Herro's dad was here. Tyler Herro stepped up. Look, there's a lot of things that we could take away from this game, and I think this is one of the signature wins of Miami's season, right?
Absolutely.
The Pacers are one of the few teams that are not ravaged by injuries and health and safety protocols. Yeah, they're missing T.J. Warren, whatever.
Like, and they did lose Malcolm Brogdon midway through the game. Early in the game, he suffered an Achilles injury, and he wound up getting taken out. Did not play at all in the second half. So that's certainly an advantage.
8 minutes, and you're hoping the best for him because he's a good player.
But Miami was blowing them out anyway, even with Brogdon in the lineup. They just completely took him out of his comfort zone.
You said it. This was an ultimate execution, and you got to give credit to Erik Spoelstra. We have to give credit to Spo right now. A friend of the show, Rohan Nadkarni, had a great tweet. It's like, Erik Spoelstra is a consistently great coach, but when you give him a bunch of injuries and a bunch of role players that he has to maximize, he's really in his bag. And he really was in his bag. And I just don't know how he keeps doing this, David. Look at this. Just read the lineup. Kyle Lowry, Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus starting at power forward, basically, Dwayne Dedmon. And you're beating a team with 2-time All-Star Domantas Sabonis, perennial underrated guy Miles Turner, Karis LeVert, Malcolm Brogdon for some of the game, Justin Holiday, some decent guys off the bench. The Heat had no business winning this game. I just don't know how he does it, Erik Spoelstra. But he formulates this game plan. He doesn't try to pretend to be anything he is. He just plays with the players that he has and says, you know what? We're going to jack up 53s tonight. And that's what they did. And they did it to great effect. And we just have to really keep reminding people, this is the best coach in the NBA. And I don't think it's a debate. And by the way, GMs agree with this statement because they have voted him best coach in the NBA 2 years in a row now in that annual GM survey. You could poo-poo it, but whatever. It counts for something. Erik Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA. I don't even want to – it's not even a debate to me anymore. It's like LeBron circa 2015, 2014, 2013. It's like, he's the best player in the league. There's not even a debate around it. Spo's the best coach in the league.
Yeah, no, listen, I think he's done such a great job of making ground beef look like filet mignon that we kind of just overlook exactly what he does. And we kind of write it off because we're so used to how incredible he is at exactly what we were talking about earlier. Just taking undrafted players out. They couldn't stop raving about what this team does. And yes, all the credit goes to Heat culture and the accountability of the franchise and everything else like that. But Spo's ability to just find the right guy who can step up at one moment, like Strus, like he did today, or Duncan throughout his career, etc., and just be able to play all these guys and you say, you know what? We don't care about Indiana's size. We're creating the mismatches. We're going to do things our way. We're going to lead into our strengths, which is why they're one of the best shooting teams in the NBA. Incredible. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Who knew that the Heat had the best three-point shooting team in the league just sitting on its bench behind Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo? I mean, this is bananas. I mean, this really is. Max Strus, 4 for 12. Duncan Robinson, 6 for 10. Tyler Herro, 5 for 8. KZ Okpala, 2 for 3 from three-point range. Udonis Haslem made his one three-pointer.
He did. God bless him. Yeah, a fantastic shooting night. Look, some of those shots, I have no idea how they made him. Like Max was pulling up from like 28 feet on
Mhm.
some shots, and then Duncan would come back the next possession. He would light it up from 29 feet. It was like this back and forth
He
between the
started
two
doing this thing
shooters.
where he would just ignore the wide open three and then just sidestep dribble into a contested jumper and then make that one. And I
Yeah,
think I tweeted or thought about tweeting during the game. I'm pretty sure Duncan Robinson, his, I think he's doing that on purpose. Like, I'm pretty sure his field goal percentage is better on contested threes that are like 33 feet away from the rim as opposed to wide open threes at this point in the season.
absolutely. It some seems that way. I think he's always been that kind of guy who can
Yeah.
thrive off of contested shots. But we'll talk a little bit about Duncan in the next segment, and we'll also ask the question whether or not Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, whenever they do return, and they were both sitting on the sideline during the game, can they play in this kind of offense? Because it just seems like Miami is able to dominate the games with this pace, with this shooting, etc. What can they do if once they incorporate Jimmy and Bam back into the lineup? But before we do that, we'll give you our player grades and we'll talk a little bit about calm. Do you want to know what makes LeBron James, King James, sleep? That's right. Sleep is in his superpower. Calm, the number one app for sleep and meditation, has teamed up with LeBron James to help you activate the power of sleep. When it comes to athletes, we tend to focus on physical fitness, but there's another side to the game that's just as important. That's mental fitness. Calm is the number one app for sleep and meditation. LeBron and Calm know that your mind is like any other muscle in your body, but you don't have to be a world champion to learn how to train it. Calm can help you train your brain so you sleep better, reduce your stress, and perform at your best, just like King James. For LeBron, sleep is a critical part of his mental fitness routine, so head to calm.com/lockdownnba. For a limited time, you'll get 40% off a Calm premium subscription. With Calm, you have access to the nature scenes that LeBron loves, like rain or leaves, and so much more, like sleep stories and meditations, so you can be ready for any challenges that life throws your way. Again, for a limited time, our listeners can join LeBron in using Calm and get a 40% discount on a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/lockdownnba. Unlock content to help you focus, ease stress, and sleep better. Get started at calm.com/lockdownnba. That's calm.com/lockdownnba.
All right, boys and girls, it is time for player grades. Thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. All right, let's get to some grades here. First one I want to do, David, is Duncan Robinson. 26
Yeah,
points
unbelievable.
on 10 for 16 shooting, 6 for 10 from three-point range. You just love to see the box score from him. He gets just an A+, just a straight A+ for tonight's game. I thought, particularly, David, what stood out to me about his game was obviously you like to see the 6 for 10 from three-point range.
Yeah.
But he took 6 two-pointers in this game as well. And this has been a trend that we've seen now from Duncan a little bit over the last week or so, where he's
Yeah.
starting to sprinkle in some of these twos and these layups into his game. And I asked him about that after the game. And he said part of it is just because of the injuries, right? When you don't have guys like Jimmy and Bam forcing the issue, getting into that mid-range, getting pressure into the paint, that it takes everybody to sort of make up for that, including Duncan Robinson. But I think I also asked, is that part of just trying to find a flow, trying to find a rhythm and start getting those three-pointers to fall? And he said, yeah, that's also part of it too. And he's doing it from the mid-range. His first shot of the game, I believe it was the first shot of the game, but certainly in the first quarter, early in the game, where he pump faked a three, guy closes out, flies by him. He takes one dribble back into that mid-range, deep two on the baseline and drills it. I'm pretty sure it was his first basket. And then you see the points start coming in. He had a couple layups in the game where he's just
Oh,
attacking those closeouts. He's got all the space in the world. And in these 5-out lineups, it's even more space. I want to see Duncan keep doing that because when he has
yes.
those kinds of games, now he's firing on all cylinders. He's not reliant on the three-pointer. That's what he said after the game. He no longer wants to be reliant on the three. He wants to be a more complete offensive player. He was tonight, David.
I will say Indiana's defense was pretty porous. And I had talked to some Pacers media folks, and they were all saying that tonight's win was more about Indiana really sucking and being a disjointed team that just can't seem to connect with one another. I don't necessarily buy that. I think the Pacers do look shaky. I think Miami also looked really good. And I think they also look really opportunistic. There was this one possession in particular where Duncan shot the three-pointer, missed, and Omer Yurtseven grabbed the rebound. He was able to draw a double team, and Duncan immediately recognized that there was a wide open lane. He just drove the hoop. And just like Shaquille O'Neal passing, passing to Derek Fisher or somebody else back in the day. He Omer Yurtseven with a behind the back pass to cutting Duncan for a reverse layup. That was a beautiful play. I don't know what it looked like live, but the replays just got me all psyched up. Look, a fantastic game from Duncan. I'm glad he's mixing it up.
By the way, that's a good reference. That was exactly Shaq. That was exactly a Shaq pass. Yep.
Yeah, I cannot believe it's the year 2021 and we're comparing Omer Yurtseven to Shaquille O'Neal, but I think it's pretty fitting. I don't know. We'll talk about Omer a little later on because he's just showing more and more improvement. Yeah. Look, he's showing a lot of nice touch around the rim. At one point, he got tangled up with Miles Turner and was able to pull the board. I think they call it jump ball anyway, but still showing the strength, showing the willingness. He's putting up shots. He finished with a couple dunks too, like blocking shots, rotating well for a 7-footer, a legit 7-footer. He's showing a lot of diversity in his game. And I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago where he looked tentative, but with every minute he's getting, he's looking more and more like an NBA player. And I think he's going to turn into a really serviceable rotation player. I'm not sure if he's going to be getting significant minutes during the playoffs, but I think he's earned the opportunity to show that he might be there and that hopefully he'll get even more opportunities next season. But anyway, let's move on to the player grade.
No. I mean, one other point on him, though. We were just asking him to go up stronger to the basket, stop with these little finesse layups and stuff. What did he do? He posterized Domantas Sabonis. He murdered Domantas Sabonis in front of Domantas Sabonis' father, who was at the arena tonight. That was just mean. It was just mean. Yeah. And that's what you like to see from Omer Yurtseven. Sent him to Omer Yurtseven.
Oh, wow. Trademark Nostradamus.
Trademark. All right. I want to go on the next one. This one's really easy. Dwayne Dedmon.
Oh.
Same A+. Didn't even have to redraw it. I am all in on Dwayne Dedmon at this point. He gave them 19, played basically 20 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
All right. 5 points, 8 rebounds, whatever. Doesn't
2 assists, 2 blocks. Yeah.
2 assists, 2 blocks. He was a +7. But in a lineup without PJ Tucker, another front court player, you're basically playing 6'7" Max Strus with his 6'10" wingspan as a power forward. Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, and Kyle Lowry. Your only hope at rim protection was to start the game was Dwayne Dedmon stepping up. And he did. He stepped up. And he was making, particularly in that first half, David, a lot of just subtle movements, subtle plays just to cut off driving lanes. He was defending multiple guys in single possessions. I just thought it was probably his best defensive performance of the season, and there's been many of them, right? Like he has been really, really solid. Not just now when Bam Adebayo is hurt, but when as Bam's primary backup as well. He's just given him so many good minutes. I thought tonight was just a perfect example of the kind of game he can have, the kind of impact he can have, while everybody else is filling up the box score. He's just doing what's needed. I loved his physicality. I love just how smart he played. He was that veteran presence when the Heat didn't really have a lot outside of Kyle Lowry. A+ for Dwayne Dedmon.
Here's another comp, and I don't think it's exactly an even one, but it kind of reminds me of the evolution that we've seen over the last few years of Brook Lopez in Milwaukee, where he's turned into this really intelligent defensive player, where he's always tagging somebody as they're stepping into the paint, where he's always got hands, where he's just nudging them a little bit out of their comfort zone. The reason why Sabonis 4 of 11 wasn't because Dedmon was blocking all of his shots, but he just pushed him a little bit, made him uncomfortable. If he just held his own just long enough for a player like Gabe or Lowry or somebody else to kind of hassle him, to just mess around lower around his knees somewhere there, and he just wasn't able to get into a comfortable shot, Dedmon made those things happen. And I really like his ability to turn into a good defensive player. That wasn't there last year. For all though everybody loves the Woman-like effort that he puts in, and the fact that he's able to yeoman effort, that he was able to put in, and how he works hard and all this stuff. That's great, but he was still not great defensively. He's turned into a really solid defensive player this year. So anyway, let's move on.
No. I mean, the other big thing from his stat line, 0 personal fouls, which has been sort of one of those things that gets Dwayne Dedmon in trouble. He was just totally in control. A big reason why Domantas Sabonis had just 12 points on 4 for 11 shooting, and a big reason why Miles Turner was just 9 points on the night in almost 22 minutes.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about Tyler Herro's return to the lineup because he was phenomenal, on fire, catching the vibes despite the terrible post-game outfit that he was wearing in the post-game media conference. Did you really? The candy? What was it? The cotton candy look that he had on his jacket? Okay, maybe. Anyway, you know what's got you covered better than that jacket is Bet Online. For this holiday season, they've got more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the college bowl season and the pro football playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Locked On to receive that bonus from basketball, of course, but football, NHL, boxing, your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, so don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available. BetOnline, where the game starts, and don't forget to use that promo code Locked On. And you know what else you shouldn't forget? It's that it's the holiday season, and every once in a while you want to indulge in a delicious treat. Well, there are plenty of holiday desserts out there that you can choose from, but sometimes you want something different. Sometimes you want a little snack without the sugar, calories, carbs, and fat, and yet you want to get a big dose of protein. Well, you know what? Just reach for Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar you've ever had. Believe me, you'll love them. All soft and easy to chew, 100% covered in chocolate. It's the perfect holiday treat to give you the energy that you need. So many delicious flavors to choose from. You can build a mixed box of all of your favorites and just give them out as presents. You'll be the hit of every Christmas party you go to. If you want a snack in between parties and you don't want to get a full meal, Built Bar is the way to go. If you want a little extra fuel for some of that last minute Christmas shopping, again, Built Bar is the perfect solution. You can dip them in a cup of hot cocoa. You can leave them out for Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. So many different options for you, and Built Bar is the best one to fill them all. And right now, if you go to Built.com and use the promo code LOCK15, you'll get 50% off your order. Who doesn't want that? That's 50% off at Built.com if you use the promo code LOCK15. Just a reminder that you can always reach us via email at lockedonheat@gmail.com or on Twitter using the hashtag AskAllHeat. We always want your feedback. We always want to hear from our fans. So many of you have been so supportive of us throughout this year. And as we're wrapping up the year, with even greater content, we want to continue to hear from you. So please continue to do that. And of course, as always, subscribe to our shows on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. But today, let's launch into the discussion about Tyler Herro. We'll talk a little bit about Jimmy and Bam trying to come back into the lineup and how they may or may not fit into this. But Tyler is the big story of the game because he came back into action tonight after missing the last 3 games, and he was just incredible. Coming off the bench, which I think surprised a lot of people. A lot of people were hoping or expecting maybe that he'd be in the starting lineup. But again, Spo finding the right recipe there, and it worked for Herro. 8 of 17 from the floor, looking as cocky and smooth as ever. 5 of 8 from three-point range, 26 points, 5 assists, a rebound, plus 31, highest on the Heat as far as that net rating is concerned. Great night for him. What did you think of Tyler's performance tonight, Wes?
Yeah, and it should be after missing 3 games with that quad injury too. So he looked a little fresh, I thought, having missed some time there. And he kind of said it after the game that missing that time, his legs were a little bit fresher, which is weird considering that he was dealing with a quad injury. But whatever, they needed him, right? And I don't know what else to say about Tyler Herro at this point. The point he's able to put up these performances and make some of these shots where you just say, "Wow!" And there was a moment in the second half where he makes back-to-back threes, and I have not heard FTX Arena ever louder than it was since really the Big Three era. I haven't heard it louder recently. I don't know if it's just because fans weren't there for an entire year and I'm just not used to it, but they love Tyler Herro, and there's something about it when he's got the ball in his hands. There is an anticipation, David, from
I've talked about this for years. They hold their breath like nothing else. I have said this consistently since Tyler's rookie season. It is unbelievable. I've never heard it. Not Dwayne, not Jimmy, not Bam, not anybody. Tyler has the ball. He steps right, does a little behind the back dribble, and all of a sudden there's this building hum. Oh, and then the shot release, and everybody explodes when he hits it. It's incredible. They love Tyler Herro like no other player.
I've seen something like it only once before, David.
Steph Curry
at Oracle or at Chase Center is the only thing I compare it to. To be clear, I am not comparing Tyler Herro to Steph Curry.
Yes, you are.
I am only
Tyler Herro is Steph Curry. That's the future Hall of Famer right there.
I am only comparing that feeling, that star power, that anticipation that your home crowd gets when he has, and that is so important. And Barry Jackson from the Miami Herald had a quote that was making the rounds on social media this week, saying Tyler Herro saying that he wants to be a starter. Newsflash, that's not a newsflash, okay? Of course Tyler Herro wants to be a starter. I'm sick of having this conversation. But this game did show you why eventually that's going to have to happen, right? Eventually you want Tyler Herro getting introduced in the beginning of the game with the starters. Eventually you want him. But you and I have talked about this. That's a problem for the future Heat. Right now, this is exactly what they need from him. They need him coming off the bench. Without him coming off the bench, I don't know how that bench unit survives, even with KZ and Omer and all these guys playing as well as they have. They need Tyler Herro to be that creator. But he is a shot. And by the way, he's closing games in close games too. And that is what is the most important. He's playing starters minutes in games, that aren't over in the fourth quarter. He's electric. There's something about his game that is so also indefensible as far as opponents, where he's completely in his bag. He worked over the offseason to create more moves, to do all these things, and he's got all of it. He's got the step back. He's got the side step. He's got the mid-range. He's getting to the rim. He's hitting the baseline jumpers. He's just I don't know what else to say anymore other than this dude has legit all-star potential, just like Stan Van Gundy was talking about. This guy's going to win Sixth Man of the Year. It's done. Okay?
Well, that was
Turn
Stan's
the ballot
point.
in. What else can he win? That's the question we should be having.
Well, Stan made the point. He said he was an absolute lock for Sixth Man, which it might be a little too early for that. Right now, I'd say he's clearly the forerunner.
As long as he's healthy, it's over.
All right. Maybe you're right. But he also said that he's got a strong case for most improved player. They asked him about it after the game. He said he says he was most interested, at least about his answer. Maybe it was just the post-game vibes. He didn't really think all that clearly. He said the Sixth Man of the Year is definitely something he'd want to win, being able to power the team off the bench, etc. But then Stan also said that he's got a good case as an all-star. And look, between all the injuries to players, the fact that players like Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan have missed time for injuries and or COVID, the fact that there's other players that have missed a significant amount of time, Tyler may have a pretty good case. Like the 3-game absence there, that's pretty much all that he's missed as far as the season is concerned so far. Hopefully that will continue to be the case. I hope I didn't jinx anything there. But as far as Tyler becoming an all-star, look, the fans are going to vote him in. As popular as he might be at the FTX Arena or the AAA, I just don't think that fans around the country still think that way about Tyler. I don't think he's going to get the player vote yet because he's still so young. But the fact that he's even in conversation, that he's even being talked about on national television, that's a huge improvement, a huge sign for the kind of growth that he's shown. I am glad the 25% chance of Tyler sticking on this roster has turned out to be the case, because he has become an incredible player, a much needed boost for Miami offensively. He does so much for this team. We were missing that boost over the last couple of days. And though Miami was able to go 2-1 without Tyler, he just comes in there and provides, look, starting lineup,
just feels
phenomenal.
Different.
Electric, yeah. But then he comes in there, and as you're reeling from that first starting punch, he comes in there with another 1-2 combo and just knocks your ass out. It was unbelievable.
I like that's an excellent metaphor, that boxing metaphor, where that the whole idea, right, is that the starting group, the usual starting group, like other than like the best 3-point shooting team in the league starting group, can sort of get you going, and then Herro could come in midway through the first and be like, you know what, we're not done yet. Here's that next wave.
It's like football, right? You set up the passing game with a run.
But while you're at David, you had it at the boxing metaphor. We don't have to go into football too. But you're right. No, as far as his all-star, the merits of him making the all-star game, I don't think it's out of the question. I actually asked Tyler about this last week. I think it was last Saturday, and I asked him, do you think All-Star is realistic? Do you think that's a goal that you could actually set out for yourself this year and achieve? And he said yes. He thinks that it's possible. Now, of course, he's going to say that, but when I asked him, it wasn't like it was the first he's thought of it either. You can kind of, as a reporter, you got to read these things too. And I think it's something he wants sooner rather than later. I'm with. It probably doesn't happen this year. I actually think there is a portion of NBA fans and just people who tend to vote on this stuff, who would vote for Tyler Herro just because he was in a Jack Harlow song. I think there's like a generation sort of below us that just knows Tyler Herro. It's sort of like that Trae Young generation too. Like they vote for Trae Young. I think Tyler Herro kind of captures that generation too, and certainly a certain portion of the population, if you know what I mean. But I do think that this is a realistic thing for him to do. Again, maybe not this year, but you raise a good point.
Celtics fans are already voting for Peyton Pritchard in the All-Star game, so they're not going to vote for Tyler too.
Maybe they would. I don't know. Maybe they just. I don't know. Anyway, I think it's a realistic goal. I don't know about this year, but I think, and don't you
Oh,
usually have to kind of make it, kind of earn it one year, even though you don't make
yeah.
it in order to make it the next year? I think that
Yeah.
that could be what's in play here for Tyler.
I look. I've been saying it for years. I think a lot of people, his trainer has told me before that he's got multiple All Star appearances in his bag. It was just this
Yeah.
weird. Last season was so difficult because again, no time for him to work on his game, to be able to do the things that we're starting to see that he did last offseason that have paid off dividends this year. Everybody was willing to trade him for James Harden. I think that kind of hung over his performance. There wasn't anything Tyler could do right because he wasn't James Harden or he wasn't Bradley Beal. And Miami had accelerated their timetable after going all the way on this deep run in the Orlando bubble, that all of a sudden people thought, okay, maybe we're just one superstar away. Of course, this was before they had acquired Kyle Lowry. Nobody was sure what was going to happen with Duncan, but they were willing to trade both Duncan and Herro for whatever superstar was available. And I think that was held against him. Now he's in year 3. He's still 21 years old. So much time, so much potential. He's already accomplished so much, and he's only going to continue to get better. And we're starting to see him take that leap in year 3. He's just been a
That
phenomenal
leap's
player.
been. I mean, we're not just reacting to this one game and Stan Van Gundy's comments on the TNT broadcast, but those are the sort of. He's been doing this all year. He's taken the leap. It's done. Like, this is Tyler Herro. This is This is Tyler Herro. He is on track to multiple All-Star games. But comments from Stan Van Gundy on a national broadcast is sort of what gets the conversation
certainly help.
started.
Yeah. Look, we'll shelve that conversation about Jimmy and Bam and how they fit this offense for an upcoming episode. Not sure if we can get to it to tomorrow's episode, although that's the goal. But thank you as always for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Remember that every episode is always free and available wherever you get the show. So make sure you subscribe to get the best coverage available. Make sure you also check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. This is David Ramil signing off for now. Thanks for joining me, Wes.
Wrap it up, B.